Welcome viewers. Dr. JWA, you Lebanese grandfather, Aboriginal grandmother on my father's side, European on my mother's side. My granddad served in the Second World War and lived nightmares of a night. As a young boy, I can remember Granddad just going into fits of screaming and yelling. He was on an Australian naval vessel that was ordered to bomb Hiroshima and Nagasaki for 2 weeks before the atomic bombs were sent over. And my granddad lived a life of trauma after that. He was never the same. But he was a good friend and he taught me lots of things, and he was my father, really, my granddad. The reason being was that my father my real father was a womanizer, and my mother left him and protected us from him and his ways. And she married a Scottish man who had a glass eye, served in the Scottish Army, and he raised us until he died. When he died at the age of 51 and I was 21, he drank and smoked himself to death. My mother died at 67 and my father is still alive. He's got nothing to show for himself, and from what I can understand, he just moves from one relative's place to another as for somewhere to stay. That's a little bit of a background on who I am. There's a lot more to it, and I'm not on here to talk about myself, but when I was young, I was born in Auburn Hospital, and I can remember my childhood around Flemington and Strathfield. A lot of my friends were Turkish and Lebanese and Croatian and all different nationalities in that area. So people that weren't specifically Australian, as it were, it wasn't strange to me. It just wasn't strange to me. So people from different nationalities were not uncommon. Chinese, all those ones. But I've looked this up, and I want to just go into this because there is a reason for us to start, and it has been for a long time, to be concerned about the numbers coming in and the degradation of the roads and hospitals and schools and things that are being overtaken. The government, and this is the problem for the government, we've got to expose it. And people be blind if they can't see it, but the government's bringing in, last reported 1,550 people from other countries each day, but they're not addressing the infrastructure that's required for that kind of consistent population growth. From what I've learned and from what I've seen, I don't think you can trust any of these politicians. That's just as politicians. I don't know what they're like as people. That's not what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about what I see happening to this country. From what I understand, if you look across the Western world, there seems to be, and I would be pretty sure there is, just like the pandemic, how it was a global plan, there seems to be an international migration plan that these governments are trying to carry out so that the people that they bring in feel obliged to vote for the government that brings them in. And what the governments have decided to do is don't worry about the votes of the national people. Build a base of immigrant votes that's going to be big enough so that be it the small percentage of nationalised votes that you will get will be enough, combined with the immigrant votes, to knock out the opposition in an election. Spain has just nationalised 500,000 immigrants in one pot. So there's some desperation going on in that political party. But this ain't about helping people or helping the country. This is a political agenda that's in play. It's in play before our eyes to keep the party that's in government for as long as it can. Now, the problem that Australia's got now is there's no opposition, there's no party that has any confidence or strong enough opposition to oppose the only way I can describe it, the communist, socialist, activist Labor Party that's in at the moment. If you watch the Senate estimates, which is where the government gets checked on different subjects and things like this, they've failed just about across the board. They haven't even come close to living up to what they've promised. And so what I found sensible, what I thought was fair, was to just give immigration a break just for 12 months to allow the situation to settle in a way so as to be able to work out how far behind the infrastructure across the board is relative to the influx of people, because Australia is only 200 years old. People forget. It's possibly the youngest country in the civilized Western world. So I asked the question, how many illegal immigrants on average enter Australia annually? And this is what I found. Australia doesn't really publish one clean illegal entries per year figure, mostly because most people who end up illegal don't sneak in. They enter legally, tourist, student, etc., and then overstay. Here's what we can say with real numbers. How many are unlawfully in Australia? It's a stock, not annual entries. The Department of Home Affairs estimated 77,700 unlawful citizens are in Australia at June 30th, 2025. I'll just repeat that. 77,700 unlawful citizens. That's people whose visa expired or was cancelled and who still hadn't resolved status by the date. How many were made to leave via compliance action, annual-ish outflow? In 2024 to 25, Home Affairs recorded 6,646 compliance-related departures. That's returns from the community, removals from detention. That's not illegal entries, but it's one of the few hard annual numbers tried to give to an unlawful status. How many breach visa conditions? Not necessarily an illegal entry. A widely cited figure from Home Affairs reporting for 2017 to 18 is 86,940 people breach visa conditions. Many leave quickly, some become unlawful. Again, breach, entered illegally. They didn't enter illegally, but it's a proxy for non-compliance volume. Old but direct estimate of annual overstays. The Australian National Audit Office once noted the department estimated 20,000 people overstay each year. That's from 2004. So treat it as historical context, not gospel for 2026. So if that's 2004, you'd possibly have to triple it. So Australia mostly tracks unlawful status as a pool, not as a yearly illegal entry flow, because overstaying after legal entry is the main pathway. My next question was, how many immigrants enter Australia annually? Number 1, people who move to Australia, migrant arrivals. Latest official ABS figure, financial year 24 to 25, year ending 30th of June 25, estimated 568,000 migrant arrivals. That's over 500,000. And that's almost 2% of the Australian population, because there's only 29 million in Australia. Just let me check that. Yeah, it's almost 2% of the Australian population, which is a lot, isn't it? That includes temporary and permanent movers who meet the ABS migration definition, not tourists. Net increase from migration, not overseas migration, same year, 306,000 overseas migration arrivals minus departures. New permanent residents, planned permanent program size, government's permanent program level for 24-25 and kept for 25-26 was 185,000 places. Also worth noting, a lot of permanent grants go to people already in Australia on temporary visas, so permanent places, people physically arriving from overseas that year. If you just want the cleanest how many enter annually number, use 568,000, that's annually, from the Bureau of Statistics, which is almost 2% of the Australian population annually. So is there an issue? They can't even fix the roads at the moment. The M1 from Newcastle or Thornton, Beresfield to Arimba is decimated. It can only be described as dangerous. And we went for a drive, where was it? To Port Macquarie the other week, and that was a little bit better. The road into Sydney, the Hawkesbury Bridge, is dangerous. That's the only way I can describe it. There's the actual infrastructure of the roads isn't coping with the population growth, particularly in my area and around Sydney. It only takes one hiccup and everything stops. What's your take on immigration into Australia? It's not about where they come from or who they are. Is the government managing this correctly, or is it clearly an international vote agenda for the politicians to keep their job? Let me know. I'm out, viewers.